Sally that girl in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally that girl in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make meatballs in Sephardic lemon sauce, Albondigas and Salsa de Agristada. Agristada is a Sephardic sauce that is lemony and delicious, and it can be used over so many things. Today I'm going to be making it with meatballs, or choftikas, as my grandmothers would say in Ladino. Choftikas, you may know them by many names, but basically they are savory meatballs, and I'm going to cover them with this delicious lemony sauce. As I said, agristada can be used for so many different things, not just meatballs. You can make fish balls, or you can make some fried fish and you can pour it over that. It's a super delicious creamy sauce, yet it has no cream in it. It is absolutely perfect and can be served with meat, with chicken, with fish, with whatever. It's super yummy, and I'm super excited to teach you how to make it. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. For the meatball part of today's recipe, you will need 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef, 2 large eggs, a half a cup of breadcrumbs, or you can replace the breadcrumbs with matzo meal instead, 1 yellow onion, 2 cloves of garlic, 3 sprigs of parsley, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of cumin, a half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. For the agristada sauce, you will need 2 cups of water plus 1 more cup separate, a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3 sprigs of parsley, 2 large lemons, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of all-purpose flour, 4 teaspoons of water, and 4 large eggs. You will also need a cutting board and a knife, another knife and a small bowl, some dry measuring cups, some wet measuring cups, some measuring spoons, 2 bowls and 2 forks, a large bowl, and a large spoon. And finally, you will need a medium-sized pot with a lid and a medium or large skillet with a lid, along with a serving spoon. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our meatballs, and we'll need our fresh parsley, our garlic cloves, and our onion. And what you want to do is just chop them up, because we're going to be adding them to a bowl along with our spices to season our meatballs and make them tender and delicious. So you're going to add up your chopped fresh parsley into the bowl, and then you're going to add those delicious onions that you've chopped up along with that fragrant and delicious garlic. So next you'll add your seasonings. I'm going to start with some salt, then paprika, now cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, and ground black pepper. Of course, you could also use fresh ground black pepper if you'd prefer. Now, once you get everything in, you're going to also add your breadcrumbs or your matzo meal, depending on which one you're using, and then you're going to beat a couple of eggs, and you're going to add those in too. Now, once you have all of these ingredients in, then of course we're going to add our ground beef. I'm using lean ground beef for this recipe, but you could use ground chicken or ground fish or whatever your preferred protein is. They're delicious with fish, with chicken, It just really flavors that agristada sauce, and it will take on a different character depending on the protein that you're using. But for today's recipe, we're going to go with beef, but I promise you they will be just as delicious if you decide to go with chicken or with fish. Fish actually works really well because of those lemony, acidic characteristics of this sauce. It goes perfect with fish, and actually it goes really well with fried fish. So if you just wanted to make the sauce, you could omit the meatballs completely and then just use a stock to build your sauce. So of course, if you're serving it with fish, I would do a fish stock, or with chicken, then a chicken stock, or a beef stock if you're serving it with meat. But you would definitely want to flavor your sauce with stock instead of water if you were not cooking your protein right in that sauce. So as I always say, there's nothing like your hands when it comes to mixing, and especially in a recipe like this that you have all of these seasonings and you have those yummy pieces of onion running throughout, and of course the egg that serves as a binder, and those breadcrumbs or that matzo meal that you added in. So it's important to just get in there and make sure to combine those ingredients well so that everything is well distributed, and that way all of your meatballs have that delicious flavor that we've added, and they're all absolutely delicious. So now what you want to do is shape your meat into meatballs. And I'm going to be doing a classic round meatball, but there are different ways to do this. You can do an oblong, kind of like an oval meatball. That is very traditional also. Or you can actually flatten out the meatballs and do them more in a patty shape. That is also quite traditional. So you can go any way you want with these meatballs. For the purpose of today's recipe, I'm just gonna go with a classic round meatball. But as I said, you can shape them as you wish, and you can use the protein that you wish. They're delicious no matter which way you go. The idea is to just distribute it into evenly sized meatballs. And in this case, since I'm using 1.5 pounds, I'm going to be getting 14 meatballs out of this batch. So this is what I mean if you wanted to make a more oblong kind of oval meatball. You would just take that same ball and then just kind of stretch it out a bit to make it oval. Or of course, if you wanted to go with a patty, you take the ball and you just flatten it a bit to make a patty instead. So now I have my 14 meatballs ready to go. And what I want to do is I want to juice my 2 large lemons. Now be sure those lemons are super juicy, because the trick to this sauce is it has to have that delicious juicy tartness. So if there's not a lot of juice in those 2 lemons, then you can go with 3 or 4. You just want to make sure that there's plenty of juice. So make sure you have 2 large juicy lemons. And then you're going to add into your medium-sized pot 2 cups of water, 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil, 3 sprigs of parsley that you've chopped up the same way we did with the first few sprigs of parsley, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, once you've gotten all of those ingredients in, then what you're going to be doing is adding those meatballs right into this pot. Then you want to place your cover on top of your pot, and you're going to turn your stove on to low. So we are going to allow these meatballs to cook in that delicious sauce and create flavor and add this delicious meat flavor to the sauce as it cooks, because we have our olive oil and those onions and that parsley. And that sauce is going to become even more flavorful because the meatballs, as they slowly cook, will flavor that sauce, which is what I was saying earlier. If you're not going to be cooking a protein in the sauce, then instead of using water, you would want to make your sauce with a stock, because that is what we're doing. We're boiling our protein right in and creating a flavorful, delicious, savory sauce. So these meatballs will cook for about 20 minutes on my stove. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to cook these meatballs. And then all I do is come in every so often and I just spoon some sauce over them, move them around a little bit, move the ones on top and move them towards the bottom so that they can all equally cook. And then just keep replacing that top until the full 20 minutes have passed and until my meatballs are fragrant and cooked through. So at this point is when we are going to add our delicious lemon juice right into that yummy sauce. And then we are going to add our sugar, and we are going to add 1 additional cup of water. And this is how we finish the sauce off. So that sugar, that lemon, and that water will just smoothen out the flavors of the sauce, and it really just creates something really deep and absolutely delicious. So once you've put those ingredients in, then just move your meatballs around and just stir that sauce up a bit so that that sugar and the lemon can be well distributed and just flavor that sauce and just really just enhance all those delicious flavors that have been cooking and just gently simmering for the past 20 minutes. And now, once you've done that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually remove my meatballs from this sauce because I'm going to finish the sauce off without the meatballs in it. So that's why I've put my skillet right next to my pot, because I'm just going to remove all of the meatballs and put them into the skillet so that I can finish the sauce off in my pot, and then I can pour that delicious sauce right on top of these yummy, flavorful meatballs. So our sauce is smelling delicious. I'm giving it a little bit of a stir, and then I'm going to turn it off for a moment while I get my last ingredients for my agristada sauce ready. So what I do is I measure out my touch of water and my bit of flour, and then I'm going to combine those 2 ingredients to make a little bit of a paste, because this is going to help thicken up my sauce, of course, together with those eggs that we're going to be adding to the sauce, which are the basic elements of our agristada. Our agristada has lemon, it gets thickened up, and then of course it has egg. And this is what gives that sauce that richness and that thickness without any use of cream. It's just a classic, amazing Sephardic Turkish sauce, and as I said earlier, it can be used in so many things. You're going to love this sauce once you try it, and you're going to want to experiment with it with different flavors: beef, chicken, fish. You're going to love it. So grab your 4 eggs, and then you're just going to beat them well in a bowl. And then what we're going to do is we're going to combine that combination of water and flour that we just made. We're going to add it right into those eggs that we have already beaten, and then we're going to give it another little stir just to combine the ingredients together. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my stove, and I'm going to give my sauce a little bit of a stir, and I'm going to turn it back on to low because I do want this warm. And then what I do is I grab some of this sauce and I'm going to add some of it to my eggs because I just want to temper the eggs, because when I add the eggs into the sauce, I don't want them cooking and I don't want to end up with scrambled eggs. This is not an omelet we're building. We're making a rich, delicious lemon egg sauce. So then just bring over some of that warm liquid and add it slowly into your eggs, and then just give it a bit of a stir, and that way you're sure that your eggs are tempered when you add them into the sauce. And then you're just going to stir your sauce really for just a minute or 2 on very low heat to just bring those ingredients together and to let that flour cook and to just let those eggs thicken up and finish your sauce and make it nice and velvety and delicious. So now the sauce is ready, and you're going to turn the heat off from your pot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pour the sauce on top of these meatballs that I have had sitting here in the skillet. I kept them covered so that they would remain warm, and then I'm going to pour this delicious sauce on top that has little pieces of parsley and a couple of pieces of onion here and there that have escaped from my meatballs as they were cooking. And then I'm just going to spoon it over my meatballs to just make sure that they all get that delicious coating of sauce on top. And really, the flavor of the sauce is so delicious. Just think about those ingredients that we've added, that olive oil and the parsley, and of course, the lemon, which is the star of the show, and how those meatballs slowly cooked in that liquid and just flavored the liquid. Really, it just makes a delicious, very, very special and tasty sauce. So now I put my lid on and I'm just gonna let this warm up for really a couple of minutes because our meatballs are cooked and so is our sauce. So I'm just gonna turn the stove on to low and I'm really just gonna finish heating up those meatballs so that I can serve them since they were sitting there for a moment. And I just wanna make sure they're nice and warm and ready to be served. And now my meatballs in Salsa de Agristada are ready. That Sephardic lemon sauce is delicious. It's tart, it's flavorful. It's just so, so yummy. And I'm sure you're going to love it. And as I said earlier, you're gonna wanna make fish balls and chicken balls and all kinds of different combinations because really it's just a yummy, thick sauce that can be used on so many things. And it's just so absolutely delicious. And really, how could you go wrong with a delicious lemon and egg sauce? No cream whatsoever, but it still gives you that creamy finish. It's just that smooth, lemony, creamy finish to it. The mouthfeel is really just absolutely delicious, and it's really just an incredible flavor. And everyone is going to ask, what kind of sauce is this? This is so, so good. And really, the applications for this sauce are endless. You can serve it over so many things. You can serve it over vegetables. You can make stuffed cabbage and use this sauce on top. You can make it and serve it over grape leaves. You can use it so many different ways. It's absolutely delicious. So now I'm going to taste my meatballs because I'm super excited to taste this delicious Sephardic lemon sauce. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. So, so tasty. I want to make sure that my meatballs get coated in it as I eat it because really, that is really, really the special part of this recipe. That sauce is really incredible. Wow. You're just going to love it. I can't get enough of it. It's tasty and it's tangy. So good. Really, I'm going to get a little more of that sauce and pour it on top because that is really my favorite part of this recipe. It's that tangy, delicious, smooth, incredible sauce that I love so much. Yummy, yummy agristada. So, so good. Yum. You're going to love this recipe. So good. So how incredibly yummy do these meatballs look? That lemon sauce is so different and so unexpected, and you are going to fall in love with it. Plus, as I said, it's super different. We serve meatballs all the time, and we're used to seeing them in very traditional sauces, tomato or sweet and sour, but this is something very, very different and very special. And as I said, it's amazing on fish, on chicken, on so many different things. So it's a sauce that's super versatile. You'll be able to use it on many other things too. But you will love it with meatballs because it is fantastic. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're gonna have to try to make this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to like, comment, and share my video. And if you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe to my channel and to touch that little notification bell so that you are notified when I put up new recipes, which I do all of the time. And of course, you can travel over to my video tab, and under that tab, you're gonna find so many recipes that are already there, and I know you are going to love. And if you're not already following me on social media, please make sure to follow Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And you can follow me as Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok. See you next time. Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.